Hey guys, welcome back to another Pokemon Pocket card tier list. Eevee Grove just came out yesterday, the time
Hmm.
that we're recording this / streaming this. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this and getting Patrick, getting your opinions on these cards, and maybe just me. I've been looking on the Reddit a bit, and there's a lot of hate for Eevee getting so much love in the series. But personally, I love Eevee. Uh,
Of course you do.
I like the fact that it's secondary mascot as opposed to Pikachu. So burn me on the stake for that. But I like Eevee better than Pikachu.
I mean, it's definitely like a really popular Pokemon, and I think it's an extremely well designed Pokemon. So
Agreed.
I, I, I don't particularly take any issue with Eevee because I see it as a great entry point for a lot of fans into the series to get them prepared and get them ready for some potentially better Pokemon like Zigzagoon. So um,
Like Zigzagoon. I almost missed that one.
come on. Okay, so we're going to be reviewing Eevee Grove. As you know, we never miss, so take this as gospel truth. And what you're going to see here is going to be 100% accurate. And before we get started, I do want to announce we have 3 big videos coming up on the channel here really soon, so be on the lookout for that. Just as an aside. However, what we're going to be talking about today, James, we're going to be talking about. Can you move my picture out of the way so we can see what the top thingamabobbler is? What are those called? Tiers? Yeah, top tier.
All right. Yep. Go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, so that's meta defining. I believe.
Meta
Uh,
warping.
Meta warping. There you go. Meta warping. Um, why am I huge? I'm also 30 seconds behind, so I'm seeing myself as massive for whatever reason right now. But anyway, so meta warping followed then by so this is what we expect to be at the top level of the meta. We're going to be seeing tech cards, so cards that you're just making me bigger. Um, cards that would be just below that you could see in decks, but won't be like necessarily formulating decks. Think Shinotic from the last set, if you will. And then we're going to see has potential, so cards that we think could be good. We're not sure yet. We'd have to see how things shake out. Niche cards are like this would be content. This would be something that
He's distracting you by making you bigger.
please put me back.
Okay.
So niche cards that would be YouTube content cards, things like that
Or
would
like,
be
well, also they work. You like they're playable and they work in certain decks, but
right.
they're not meta.
Right. And then better is cards that have been already released in a different form, but are better than what they are then, but not necessarily good for any of the other tiers. Bad is just straight up bad cards. And then not fully evolved are cards that it's unfair to rank because they're not fully evolved. So I think that's a fair breakdown of everything.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I had to let my cat out. He was crying.
Of course. Classic James. Okay, so let's just get rocking and rolling. I think with the first one, if you don't mind,
Yeah, you got Tropius.
which is by the way one of my favorite Pokemon. I think the design is phenomenal with this card. Unfortunately, it sucks. This card is really bad.
Yeah, I love the first time I saw Tropius because Emerald was the first game that it wasn't my first Pokemon game that I played. It was the first one that I beat, the first one I got super into.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran across Tropius. I'm like, oh my god, it's a flying leaf dinosaur. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And then it was just not a good
So
Pokemon.
fun fact for you, James, because I think you'll get a kick out of this, and any of our viewers. So I'm a big Pokemon, third generation Pokemon fan for sure. That's what I grew up with. To date myself, super hard. But I was trying to complete the Pokedex, and as some of you may know, the where am I getting music from? Oh, I'm getting music from your stream.
Yep.
Uh, the Pokedex has Tropius and then Chimecho, or Chimecho, if you don't know how to pronounce it, in the next slot right after Tropius. However, if you don't encounter Chimecho on Mount Pyre, you don't have the Pokedex data for that. And this is before you could Google search everything you wanted. So I'm trying to evolve Tropius. So I got to like level 60. I was like, when does this thing evolve? And I was like speculating what it was going to evolve into. I was like, how is it going to get 2 heads? Like, what's it going to do? And then I found out later that Chimecho exists, and I was disappointed. So I hate Chimecho.
Yeah, this is out of spite. They really do need to give Tropius an evolution where it's just like a multi-headed Hydra.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
they
also
kinda have
very
that with what is that? It's like purple and doesn't
Hydra.
have eyes.
Are you talking about Hydrapple?
Maybe it has a dragon type.
Oh, you're talking about you're talking about Hydreigon,
Probably.
the thing that has tank treads on its torso.
I
Here.
think so.
I'll send you a picture of what I'm thinking of.
Okay, you got me.
There, that. Is that what you're thinking of?
I double clicked it. Yes, that is what I'm thinking of. Where do you get tank treads from? Just because?
On its torso. Look at the torso.
I mean, I guess.
So, anyway, by the way, do you want to guess how tall Tropius is?
Isn't he only like 4.5 feet? Like 4'8"?
No.
What?
He is 6'7".
Oh, okay, same height as me.
Yeah. You might be thinking of Salamence, who is 4'11".
Yeah, probably.
It also
cannot believe Tropius is bigger than Salamence.
he is. He also only weighs 220 pounds.
I can more than bench that. I can bench that. I can bench Salamence.
I can. Yes. Well, no, that's not Salamence. That's Tropius.
Oh.
Salamence weighs 248 pounds.
I can also
When you
bench
get into
Salamence.
when you get into sizes and like you look at the size and weight, you know, the height and weight data for Pokemon, you realize these guys have no idea how density and mass works.
Oh my god.
It's-
Wailord.
Yeah, Wailord floats in the air, not on the water, in the air. It's lighter than air. Anyway,
Hang on, I have a question though about Salamence because
Sure.
Really? 4'8" or 11?
yes. Yeah, 4'11". Yep, that's right.
This
That's what
dude
the Pokedex
from
entry
the
says.
Jirachi movie is riding on his back.
Correct. It is not. It doesn't make any sense. He definitely doesn't look 4'11". 4'11" is very short. For a freaking dragon. So. Anyway, let's move on to the next card.
The first card in this set, Tropius.
He's bad. He's bad. Put it in bad. Just
Yeah,
put it in
no,
bad.
he's unfortunately. I love the Pokemon, but yeah, he's bad.
Yeah, 3 colorless energy, 100 HP, basic, for only 60 damage. It's not very good. So
No.
we'll toss that in bad. Let's talk about Leafeon. This card's good. I think this
card's bad.
I think this card definitely has potential. I think it's phenomenal. I think you
I was thinking
are underrating it.
Well, okay, so what? Best case scenario. So it's nice that it's, up and running
Immediately.
Yes.
Yep. It's
So-
literally Celebi.
Well, that's the thing I was going to get at. So you can run Leafeon EX because it gets itself up and running in 2 turns because of its
Yes.
ability. So,
Sure.
And you can have it out there tanking using Erica's and Pokemon Center Ladies, whatever, to keep it alive while you just every turn put 2 grass energy on a Leafeon and then he comes out swinging for like 200 damage. I think that's one of the best case scenarios and probably the most consistent way to play it.
Yeah.
It
It is extremely consistent. It's extremely consistent. And the fact that you can run 4 EVs to evolve into 4 different Leafeons. This guy, you give him 2 you have 2 Leaf Capes, you put them both on your 2 Leafeons. You're upping his damage by 40 every single turn. You're constantly getting damage out there. He's got 120 HP with the Leaf Cape. You've got all of the healing items that you just outlined that you can access. You're ramping like crazy. I mean, basically, he doesn't die to anything other than like Solgaleo exactly will kill him. But then you're trading, this guy for, and if you have 2 Leafeon EX, it's even better. But you're trading a 1 prizer for a 2 prizer. So I don't think that it's meta solely because of Flareon, frankly.
Well,
And-
I don't think it's meant. Also because
And Espeon as well is another one that
Yeah,
will absolutely eat it
Espeon.
alive.
I'm
But
hoping to pull. But here's the thing with Leafeon, though. If you open up with this Leafeon and
Mhm.
not Leafeon EX, he's just not tanky enough, and you're not going to get him doing enough damage fast enough that I think he just gets two tapped by pretty much every meta deck.
I mean, that's true. That's true. I personally would put it in has potential.
I'm fine with that.
Um,
I don't think I don't think when I said it's bad, I don't think it's like
yeah,
bad, but
because I could see a world where you take this one of the other EXs in the set, the Eevees and whatnot, and you have that EX out there soaking damage while you ramp this guy up, and then you bring him in for the closure.
yeah. I
So
mean, yeah, I think that the best way to characterize this one is the new Celebi, which Celebi was never like tier 0 or anything, but it was a fun
it's pretty
deck and
good.
did a boatload of damage.
It was tier one. It was tier one. It was pretty good. It was pretty good when you combined it with the Executor because it was a closer. Celebi's always a closer. These kinds of
Yes.
decks that have unlimited ramp are always closers. They're never
Yes.
what you want to open with. So let's I think for the tier I would recommend putting it in has potential.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes sir.
And then we can go to Bonsweet and Steenie and Serena, which are all cards that we've already received copies of.
Yep.
Um, so I'll just tell you what Bonsweet, Steenie, and Serena are because I don't want to send them all. Bonsweet, the original Bonsweet, 50 HP, 1 grass energy for Stampede for 20. Steenie, 1 grass energy, 80 HP, same thing. Double spin, coin flip for our 2 heads, 30 damage each head. And then Serena, 1 energy, 130 HP, 3 kick combo, does 50 damage for 3 coin flips, for 1 for each heads. Wow, that was a horrible way of saying that. I think
This is the worst way you could possibly read a card.
I think Bounsweet is worse
Agreed.
objectively. I
Agreed.
think Steenie is objectively better because it's hitting more damage on average.
Agreed.
And then I think this Serena as well is also better. Guaranteed 50 damage, first of all, which is super nice. And then you also rip a card from their hand, which is really nice as well for a lot of decks that
and
really
with
hurts
rare
them.
candy, you can get this up and if you go
Exactly.
first and you have this on and you use open up with
Mhm.
Bounce Suite and then you just rare candy on turn what is turn 3 your second turn,
Yep.
put an
Yep.
energy on it, it's ready to go right away and you're ripping cards. That I think is
Well, and also
disgusting.
keep in mind you can still use Mallow as a supporter. This thing has a higher HP pool, but by 10, granted, but still a higher HP pool, so it's 140. You can use Mallow, which James, as you were well aware of, Mallow heals all of the damage from Serena.
I'm not aware of what Mallow does.
That is what Mallow does. It heals it for full entirely. You just have to discard any energy that's attached to it.
Which is
So,
not a problem because you get
nope.
it going immediately again.
Nope, it is not a problem because it gets immediately up and running. So, generally speaking,
niche.
I think it's going to be better than that. I think
You
it
think
should go and
so?
has potential. I think so.
I
think that I don't think that it's meta defining. It's grass. It's weak to fire, which is a problem. But I still think that it's. I think as the format develops, you could see Serena out there as kind of a meta call deck, especially if fire falls off, and we see anything like dark or fighting take over. You could definitely see this guy still up there. I mean, it's a pretty good counter to something like a Rampardos. So. I personally would put it in has potential.
So here's my only concern is it this reminds me a lot of my first thoughts about Beedrill EX
Mm-hmm.
when it came out a few sets ago.
Right.
In that the ability is very strong, but it's still even with rare candy has the issue of it's a stage 2 Pokemon that doesn't do a ton of damage. And so you're going to be taking up, I mean, what are you going to run this and Bounce Sweet as a one of? But if you don't open it,
Yeah.
like
No, I understand what you're saying. That's why I say it has potential. I'm not ready to say that it's necessarily going to be in there, but I think that you could pair this with something like Silvally. You know, I think you could pair this with something like Decadui EX, especially considering one of the supporters in this set. I think you could pair this with a couple of different things that, are fast and low to the ground that, might be able to outpace your opponent. I think that it has some potential.
I think its potential is in if you open it, Bound Sweet and Rare Candy. I mean, that's just incredibly strong. But outside of that scenario, I think that it's a pretty niche card. So we can put it in has potential if you feel very strongly about it. But I put it at the bottom of has
Okay,
potential.
that's fine. All right, so Applin and the big apple pie guy. So
Mm-hmm.
Applin's not fully evolved. I
Yep.
don't believe that we've had an Applin so far.
I don't remember having one.
So we're gonna assume that we haven't. It's really not very good. It's extremely understated. It's understated by 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
So and it doesn't look like it's been made up for with Appleton at all, because Appleton I believe is probably the worst Sweets Relay Pokemon in the
Agreed.
list. And I think we should talk about Sweets Relay as a whole. So let's throw this guy in bad, and then let's bring up the others. Um,
Oh, there's a
so
lot of them with Sweets Relay on it.
yes, I know what all of them are. So if you want to quickly go
So we
back
got
to the tier list,
Swirlix, Slurpuff, Milkury.
Milcery.
All right, I'll trust you.
So no, actually you missed one. So
Oh, right.
We have Vanillite, Vanillish, and then we have the Swirlix line and the Milcery line.
Oh yeah, I
So
forgot about these guys. So I saw a short a while back talking about how if an animal
yeah,
takes the if something takes the form of the food of something else, it is typically a parasite.
yes,
It wants the thing to ingest it. So I think that
yes,
means that all of these Pokemon, maybe
are
not
parasitic.
Swirlix and
Yes,
Slurpuff, but yes, they're parasitic and they feed off of humans.
yes, I would agree with that probably.
Anyway,
Okay,
so
so let's go to the tier list, and we'll grab all of the Sweets Pro Pokemon at once. Um,
well let's okay, well I can't literally grab all of them at once, but
well, I was gonna we're gonna talk all about all of them all at the same time because there's no point in like
I've
saying,
got
well,
them
this
pulled up.
one, you know. Okay,
Starting with
so
Swirlix.
yes, so we'll start with Swirlix. Swirlix is not fully evolved. We'll just throw that in there.
Agreed. You want to just do
Let's
that with
all
all of them?
well, let's throw Swirlix, Milcery, and Vanillite all go not fully evolved.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay, and then I think all of these are tech cards. They're
So
not meta defining yet.
I definitely don't think they're. Well, I don't say definitely. I don't think. Yeah, I agree with you on the yet. So looking at Slurpuff, I think Slurpuff is the strongest.
So, okay, so
Arguably.
there's two routes you can go, and I haven't seen which one is better yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either go Vanillite, Vanillish. You generally don't bother with Vanillux. That's a waste of a deck slot.
Well, it also
Instead,
drops the Sweets Relay
yeah,
guy.
you lose the Sweets Relay archetype, which is really cool. By the way, as an aside, the fact that we have archetypes in here
Oh yeah.
across types is crazy cool. So, but you could run the what's the water supporter from I think it's Triumphant Light
Is
that
there
has it.
what?
Yeah, Irida. You could run Irida
Oh
if you
yeah.
run the Vanillite and Vanillish because they require water. Everything else is colorless. So you can run Irida, and that's like the big
I would
change.
like to point out that you could also run Irida with Slurpuff and Alcremie because Irida doesn't heal water Pokemon. She heals
I know,
Pokemon with
yeah.
water
With
energy.
that's where I was going with. But alternatively, you could replace Irida with some other more flexible cards, such as Tapu Lele, for example. There's a lot of pretty good psychic box cards that you could put in there instead of Irida, and instead you would run a pure psychic deck where you have Mythic Slab as an additional draw piece to get all of your stuff out there.
That's actually what I was leaning towards, especially because so and you can obviously run Alcremie and
No.
Slurpuff both, but Slurpuff does the most damage
Mm-hmm.
and has the most health. 90
Right.
damage with 120 health, and then Alcremie in second with the
Right, and that's kind of where I'm leaning to as well. Is that you drop the Vanillite line and you go for that,
mm-hmm.
but I'm not prepared at this moment to say specifically that. And the reason that you specifically want Vanillite and Vanillish is that they're great counters for Flareon. So
Oh, that's true.
yeah, so it's if fire completely takes it over, you like having those in your deck just for that extra 20 damage off rip is really good for this kind of deck. Um, because it really sets you up for just bringing in alchemy in there and just finishing off something pretty quickly.
Yeah. So
So that's why I'm not prepared to say it.
kind of what I would do if I ran this deck, just on my first thoughts. Run one Vanillite and Vanillish, one Milcery and Alchemy, two Swirlix, two Slurpuff. This is to tech in against fire, obviously, and if you open it, that's not the end of the world. Swirlix into Slurpuff. Slurpuff is going to be your bulkiest Pokemon and does the most base damage. But then Alchemy comes in and
it's your closer. It's your closer, yeah.
It's a closer because I mean, realistically, since every single one of your Pokemon has Sweets Overload as the attack, or is it just Sweets Overload? Sweets Relay. So
Sweets Relay.
Sweets Relay. That's Sweets Overload. So I mean, realistically, this is going to be doing 160 damage.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy.
James inaudible on the stream. Oh,
I think my mic was too low. Let me know if
I could hear you. I could hear you. I think your mic is just quiet.
Yeah, I had it lowered in Streamlabs because whatever we were doing last, I was yelling.
Oh, gotcha.
I think it was we were doing Prague or.
I think we were doing Lethal Company.
History.
That sounds about right. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I just think that this archetype is yet to be proven. I think it's a better version of the Lake Trio from Space Time Smackdown. I'm really excited to run it, but I don't know if it's better to run the Psychic package or the Water package yet. It entirely depends on the meta.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because if fire completely falls out, I wouldn't waste time with Vanillite and Vanillish. So here's what I'm thinking. Okay. I think we put Vanillite.
By the way, Vanillux is bad. By the way, I think we just put Vanillux in bad.
Agreed. We put Vanillish, in niche because you're only using it against if fire's meta, and then I would personally put Slurpuff and Alchemy into probably tech cards.
Yeah, I could do that. I'm good with that one.
I mean, I think that they have the potential because they're also all one pointers. You have no EX, which is one of the strong parts of, for example, the Rampardo stack is you don't run any EX Pokemon, so you don't have to worry about losing quickly.
We should rename the tech cards to just be like runner up or something like that, or like generally good. Generally good, because that's what we're using it as more so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better. I think that makes more sense.
That's the entire Sweets Relay / Overload line.
Yep. All right, so back to where we were. We're starting at Flareon, regular baby Flareon. This card is awesome. I really like this card.
This is a really good card.
I think it's a tech card because I haven't really been seeing it run in the Flareon EX deck. Which, by the way, while we're at it, let's just toss that into Meta Warping.
We'll get there.
Yeah, but this one is it's pretty good. It's a ramp for fire. It's a really consistent ramp for fire that also deals damage.
This is pretty bulky. Card that I think if it came out 4 sets ago, 4 or 5 sets ago, and this is something you'll probably hear me say a couple of times tonight, that it would have been absolutely goated. Because if you think early on, the only ramp that fire had was Moltres EX, and that was on coin flip. Yeah,
and that's also an EX Pokemon, so you're sacrificing 2 points for it.
Exactly, but Flareon, because months ago, February, March, whatever, I was running the Magmortar deck, for example. That needs 4 fire energy.
Yeah,
which this could so difficult to do.
This could have assisted that a lot. I think it's generally good. I think it definitely fits into generally good.
I think it's good, but if it had come out in February, it'd be meta warping.
Yeah, I think so let's move on to Flareon EX. Okay.
Yes.
So Flareon EX is clearly meta warping. There's so much about fire that this works so well with. The fact that it works, first of all, fire is a deck theme that you discard fire energy. A lot of fire cards do that. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. What?
Real quick, Jessica. Shout out to the white cat doing the real work.
That's true. He is doing the real work. He's taking a nap. Cool. So, but yeah, so fire is an archetype that just loves to discard fire energy to do more damage. So it has difficulty with consistency. It's very fragile, but it outputs a lot of damage. Very glass cannony.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Flare on EX directly works with the fire energy in the discard pile is great. You pair that with leftovers, you can mitigate some of that damage that's done to the Pokemon. But then also, this card pairs super well with another card that was released in the set, which is Torkoal, which is what I'm seeing a lot of people actually running. Is that you have a Torkoal opener, Flareon on your bench, you Torkoal until it goes down. Very quick to get that up and running, and then you bring in Flareon EX to close out. You can Eevee bag twice plus red to boost the fire spin by 40 damage, so you're hitting for 170 as well, and that's late game, so you're expected to have drawn those cards at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So
I will
very good
say,
combo.
first impression, this looks like just a better version of Infernape.
Oh, big time, big time.
It's
I
a
think
stage
so.
1, not a stage 2, so you can take out all your 2 rare candies. You're only discarding 2 instead of all. Granted, it costs 1 more, but you also get to attack the following turn, whereas Infernape, you had to pull it out, and you had at least 1 more turn. You couldn't attack every turn. It was always every other turn, and that's only if you're putting your energy onto Infernape. So I think Flareon EX completely kicks Infernape EX out of any sort of like every deck basically. If you have Flareon EX, there's no point in running Infernape.
Well, and also keep in mind, James, that what was I going to say now? Completely lost it. This is what I was going to say. It's a stage 1. I mean, this is exactly what we were talking about in the Eevee Grow video that we put out a couple days ago. Is it's like this is so hyper consistent. It's so hyper consistent to get this damage out and get this damage out like every single turn. That's exactly how this card is designed. And this card, it's not going to be chunking you for a ton, and it doesn't have the highest HP value. It's also not the fastest, but damn, is it consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is great. I think we throw this. I think we throw Torkoal into generally good as well. Torkoal is just a really great spot for a card.
I really like Torkoal. I love his design. I mean,
his design is great.
100 HP on a base Pokemon is tanky enough, and then 70 damage for 2 energy. Yes, you have to fill it up every turn, but
but that directly fuels your Flareon. You want to be discarding.
Yes. The only and this also works well with I guess if you wanted to run any of the Ultra Beasts too.
Yep.
Because then you're just filling your graveyard or your discard pile up with energy.
Theoretically, you could put Blacephalon in there along with Elusamine. So, absolutely. I mean, it's just a really well-designed card. It's extremely strong. It's overstated to hell, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
But I like it. And I like the fact that they put it at single diamond card. So it's easy to pull, so which is super nice. Okay, we can move on to the next fire cards. This Litten and this Torracat are both bad. They're both worse than their previous counterparts, as is Incineroar. That Incineroar is pretty terrible.
So I'm going to bring up Incineroar real quick, and I would like to point another thing that I read about people who had never played Pokemon before when they were kids. They picked Litten as their starter because they wanted a cute little cat Pokemon, and evolve them into a bigger cat. Cool. So like, you'd think the final evolution would be like the lion Pokemon.
You talk about Pyroar?
Yeah, Pyroar. You think it'd be like Pyroar, not this big buff wrestler bipedal cat that wants to eat you. This I don't know, I just find that incredibly amusing. This is not what I would have expected the final evolution to be when I was a kid of Litten.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that all three of these are bad.
Yeah, I mean,
they're all bad.
Coins, 100 damage for each heads. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to do 200, but
it's pretty bad.
Coin flips are inherently inconsistent. Then you shove them on a stage 2 Pokemon, and it's just not it.
Yeah. So let's go to Salazzle and Salandit. By the way, I don't know what's going on over at DNA, but somebody has it out for Salazzle. Somebody really likes Salazzle. and I got a couple of questions. Uh,
Okay. What do you got?
these are both bad, by the way. They're both worse than what's already been out there.
Agreed, because the other one has that poison gimmick.
Well, one of them for 2 energy poisons and burns and does 30 damage. One of them just poisons and does 30 damage, which is already the same as this one. Another one does 60 damage for 2 energy. So and also just in generically, I don't see any reason to run this card.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I put both of those in bad and wrap up the fire type Pokemon here.
Yeah.
Okay, so Vaporeon, this card's bad as well. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily worse or better than the previous one. It's just it's 3 energy, 70 damage, random chance to discard an energy. That's never good. So
So
and there's
that I
if
mean that being said, this Vaporeon is just Team Rocket Grunt on legs.
yeah, but so is Guzzlord, and I'd much rather be running Guzzlord because for
That's
two
fair.
energy,
I forgot
two
about
energy, I'm
Guzzlord.
doing the same thing, and it also has more damage on the back end. It has built-in support that ramps it. It can flip in and out as much as you want, and it also Grindcore is colorless, so there's no real reason to run this card. There's no deck that this supports.
I forgot
Uh,
Guzzlord
it's
existed.
yeah, I think it's just bad. I
Yep,
also
I
think
agree too.
Glaceon's also pretty bad
Oops.
too. The question is,
Yeah.
I think the only question about Glaceon is it any better than the previous iteration of Glaceon?
Like the
Which I
old
believe,
not Glaceon EX.
yeah, don't we have? There isn't there a Glaceon? Yeah, there is. Okay,
Is
there
there?
is. Yeah, 2 energy, Ice Beam, flip a coin if heads opponent is paralyzed. So yeah, I feel like I don't even know. They're both kind of awful. So
Yeah, I mean personally, and here's my issue. Another issue with Glaceon. Alolan Ninetales is just a
yeah,
better version of this card. Yeah, it takes one
yeah,
more water energy, but it does 60 damage and 20 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So you're getting
right,
120 damage in per turn on max versus 50 on max.
right, right. No, absolutely, absolutely valid point there.
So
So
I am gonna. Yep, that's bad.
yeah, so I think we're both in agreement on that. Let's go to the next one.
Alomomola.
Alomomola.
Sure. If you say so. Say
I had
that
a
5 times fast.
I had a conversation at work today where I had the absolute joy of being able to say all of like prehistoric animals pronunciations. So that was pretty fun. My team there is great. Anyway, so uh, why don't you give me your thoughts on this one?
I
I
hate
think it's pretty
this.
clear.
I mean, first up, asleep is the worst condition in the game. Second, 3 energy for 50 damage.
Yes,
The only thing this Pokemon has going for it is that it's a basic with 110 HP, but of course it has to have 110 HP because it has no offensive power or usage whatsoever.
there's literally no use case for this guy.
There's no redeeming quality for this Pokemon.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yep.
I almost feel bad putting, Glaceon and Vaporeon in the same category because at least they have use cases if you don't have the better versions of those cards. But like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you one bit for being a little bit frustrated by putting this piece of crap in the same
I,
place, but
we're gonna fix this.
a little mola tier
There we go.
in the fishbowl. Is that what you just typed?
Yep. What color? It's gonna be this
Yeah,
color. There we go.
yeah, but it's gonna be white text.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's fine. All right,
Ugly
let's move
brand
on.
color.
Moving on to Popular and Brion. Both of these are bad.
Do
But
we have
Primarina,
earlier versions of these?
yeah. It was in the Celestial Guardian set.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that.
So let me go ahead and pull those up real quick. I'll share them with you. Do, 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 do. So there's one Populo. Here's another Populio. And here is the Brion. And I would say this Brion's better than the other Brion.
1 for 30 versus.
But you gotta look at Primarina EX, my dude.
Yeah, because then you're attacking on
Because
curve.
it's
And
always attacking. You only
Mm-hmm.
need one energy. You only need one energy. So Primarina EX is one of like my favorite design Pokemon so far in the set. I hate this Pokemon in the like the games. I think it's stupid. I think it looks
Why?
really dumb. I don't like the design of Primarina EX or Primarina period as a Pokemon. I do not like it. Incineroar way better. Decadui way better. You know, this piece of crap horribly designed. Not my favorite. Worst one. And Brion looks horrible as well. Even worse. It gives me big toddler and tiara, vibes.
Is it
Just
because of the
looking at that.
pigtails?
I don't even know, man. I just do not like it. Poplio's fine. I like Poplio's design, and then it got ugly.
Cute.
Yeah, and then it got ugly. So no, I do not like Primarina.
Do we have Samurai? We don't have Samurai yet.
No. As a matter of fact, here, hold on 1 second. Why don't you pontificate on why Primarina is Primarina EX is meta defining or meta warping?
Well, I mean, number one, the other card that we have in Meta Warping right now is Flareon, which is weak to Primarina EX. If I remember correctly, it's not enough to... Primarina doesn't have enough damage to one-tap Flareon, but it does have... It will two-tap it. It doesn't necessarily need all 3 energy to attack, so moving into it quickly, you're not hindering yourself by evolving right away, because you can still do 80 damage with 2 energy with Hydro Pump. And the fact that it does 100 damage and then heals itself, plus it has healing from Irida, plus all the other healing cards if you wanted to really lean into that. I mean, it's basically immune to chip damage, or, I mean, if you're playing against a Dredagon, yep, okay, it's going to heal. Primarina's going to heal itself right back up. So it's got a lot of things going for it. I don't necessarily think that it's the best card in the world, but I do think that it's a very good card.
I think it's really good. I think it puts water back on the map. I think it's I'm really happy with what I've been seeing from Primarina EX. So.
Oh, and I also forgot that water has crazy ramp in Manaphy and Misty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got a lot of water. Has a ton of support. It just hasn't had the 2-stager to benefit from rare candy yet. So no, it's really good. It's really good. I'm a big fan.
I still rather run. Gotta run Wugtrio though. Don't sleep on Wugtrio.
No, of course not. By the way, here I'm going to send you a picture of my favorite deck I've seen so far.
Okay.
Can you throw this on stream?
Yeah.
This is what's going to get me to Masters.
This?
That's what's going to get me to Masters.
Always goes first for some reason.
Why don't you read the effect of one of those cards?
It's absolutely. Oh, you're just running 20 Magikarp. Got it.
That's right. I'm trying to find a specific graphic that someone did on Reddit that is pretty good. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I remember these pictures earlier when I was doing my research.
See, Patrick always researches the meta, and I just come in here blind, and I'm like, I don't. Well,
I try to see how things are doing, how things are going. But anyway, yeah, Primarina I think is definitely meta defining. I think all of the electric types are bad, by the way.
Let's look at him. So Jolteon, I agree. This is I hate this design, where okay, it does more damage only the turn that it's evolved. Okay, if you're gonna put that gimmick, I am not reading that, Winter. I
saw that too.
I hate this gimmick because if you're gonna do it, at least make it worthwhile. Like, oh, the turn this Pokemon evolves, it does 80 or 100 more damage on the attack. Then at least you're putting it out there and you're getting 1 turn of good damage, and then it tapers off after that. Otherwise, this is just, I mean, this is worse than something like Manectric.
Yeah.
Because Manectric does the same damage after turn 1, and at least it's...
I got the image I was looking for. That's all of the starters that have been released thus far. So...
All right, so we obviously have Gen 1, Gen 4.
Yep.
We don't have any... You're right. We don't have any Gen 2.
or Gen 3.
Yeah, wow. I didn't
And then we
realize that.
randomly have Superior, Greninja, and Meowscarada.
Yeah.
So, so by the way, the best guess for the next set after this is that it's going to be Gen. So it's going to be Gen 5. We're going to get Stadium cards. Um,
That would be
and
nice.
then and then there's going to be two more. So there's going to be something that's going to deal with probably either Zygarde. Am I thinking of the right thing? No, that's Gen 6.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking of Curium. So it's going to be black and white themed. Then it's going to be black and white 2 themed, would be the next two sets ish. And then after that, we're going to get Gen 6 with Mega Evolution. And then after that, we're going to get Gen 3 um, as well. So Gen 8, 9, and 2 are probably on the back burner for a while.
Oh, come on. I need my
So,
Cyndaquil support.
by the way, and the reason that I'm saying that, I'm going to make that claim now. And if this turns out to be correct, this will be turned into a short later. But
If it
I'll
turns
make the
out to
claim
not be
now
correct, I will turn it into a short
here
later.
in June. No, it's going to be deleted. In June of 2025, I'm going to say that the next major set is going to be Gen 5 to tie into the mainline TCG, and then two mini sets after that. And then the next mainline set after that's going to be Gen 6 with Mega Pokemon EX to tie into the release of Zaza.
So you think that's
So,
going to come out in June, you said?
what?
You said June of 2025.
I said I'm making the claim in June of 2025.
Oh, okay. I misheard
Yeah.
that.
By the way, can you show the picture to Winter Dark Shadow of my response to his message? It's the one right above the other one I just sent you.
What?
The image above the image you're currently showing.
Oh.
That's my response. That should be an emote or whatever on the channel.
Yeah, we'll save that one for later. I agree. Anyway, so back to Jolteon. Jolteon is terrible. Get it out of my
Yes,
sight. You don't
it's really
deserve
bad.
to be an evolution
It's really
card.
bad.
We'll put that you down there. Joltik. We do have another Joltik and Galvantula.
Yes, and I think that these are both pretty bad as well, in my opinion.
This is really bad for electric.
You just discard all energy, so you can't use this 2 turns in a row and then paralyze your opponent. So it's just not good. And the
I mean, I
Joltik
get the idea. It's got the same gimmick as Infernape EX, where just
right.
do some damage and then get out of there for no retreat cost. But I don't like it. I mean, it's underpowered. It's one of those things that you'd run when you just join the game and you have to build a deck to play against the AI for 5 minutes until you open more packs.
So the original Galvantula, same damage, same energy cost, just makes it so you can't retreat. And then the original Joltik, same HP, same energy cost, does 30 damage.
Yeah.
So it's just not. I don't think either one of them are good, but these are definitely bad.
Agreed.
That's what we're rating right now.
Now we're getting into a good.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about Espeon? I will be right back. But I trust that you're going to tell me that Espeon is meta defining or generally good, because it is. I'll be right back.
Okay, James, why don't you talk about this card, but I'm going to tell you exactly where it should belong. Anyway, no, I do agree with him, though. I don't know about meta defining, because this is one of those cards that, like Gallade EX, is good depending on what is in the meta. So if you're running up against Pokemon with only 2 energy attached to it, or even 3, like Flareon EX, you're only doing 60 damage, which granted, it's a very cheap and fast card. It's 1 energy, stage 1, decent HP pool, so getting it up and running quickly is never going to be a bad thing. But this would be much better against something, for example, like that Leafeon that we saw at the very beginning of the stream, where it does more damage for each grass energy on it, so you're going to want to put more grass energy on it, meaning it takes more damage. Just like Gallade EX completely stomped Celebi EX. So again, while I don't believe that this is meta warping, because it's more of an anti-meta card than a meta card itself, it is still a very good card, very cheap, and I really think that with this set, you're going to want to be running Psychic, so it slots in quite nicely. That'd be a funny emote. I agree, Winter. That would be a hilarious emote, and I will turn it into an emote, just like the Patrick in the apron with the pan. So next we have Woobat and Swoobat. This is just your standard 60, 20, and 140. 1 energy cost, basic stage 1. Again, it's another set of cards that they're not terrible, but you just run them when you first start playing the game against the AI until you have better cards. You realistically never take these two into battle. And if I remember correctly, the Woobat and Swoobat from Genetic Apex are actually better. Let me look at this. I believe that it is in Pikachu. Yes. So, okay, the new Woobat is better. The new Swoobat is arguable because it has 10 more HP, 20 less damage, one less. I don't know. I would actually probably argue they're both better than the previous Woobat for sure. Swoobat because the 10 HP and the one less energy cost more than makes up for the fact that it does 20 less damage. Because if you were to run this at all, it would just be as openers, so you don't want to sink too much energy into them because you expect them to go down anyway. So I'm going to actually put them both in better because they are better than at least this Woobat and Swoobat. I don't know if there's any other ones. That's what I need Patrick for. Cards. Let's see here. Nope. So yeah, that's the only time that Woobat and Swoobat came out. So definitely better. All right, moving on. So we already talked about all these guys. Moving on to Sylveon. So I'm actually going to wait for Patrick to get back so we can talk about this one because I actually quite like this Sylveon, and I don't know why. I feel like he's going to argue with me about it. But so if you're running this in an evolution deck, you're realistically probably going to have a bench full of evolved Pokemon, maybe 2, if not 3. And at max, this is doing 130 damage on a stage 1 for 2 energy. Yeah, Patrick put his headset next to the microphone. Rookie move. Yes, I have Patrick turned down low enough that I can't hear it, but that's not surprising. Mute Patrick till he's back. All right, Patrick's muted. Something tells me that Patrick is going to be a while in the bathroom. I completely lost my train of thought. So I'm not going to put this on the tier list until Patrick gets back. That being said, I do like this as just a general member of an Eevee deck if you're running Psychic. Personally, a deck that I've been looking at running would be obviously the new Eevee, Eevee EX, Sylveon EX, Sylveon, and Espeon. So very heavy into that psychic type. All very low energy cost cards. And this would be, I don't know, maybe you want to call it the boss of the deck, if you will, as opposed to the Sylveon EX, just because it has the most damage output. 1 drop. So probably do something like 1 Espeon, depending on what's in the meta, that can go in and out. 1 Sylveon EX, 2 Sylveon. So again, I'll wait to place it, but I would probably place this Sylveon in generally good. Don't think it's meta defining. Sylveon EX, on the other hand, I actually really like this card. Patrick's back, so I will unmute him, and we'll jump back to the normal Sylveon as opposed to Sylveon EX. Hi, Patrick.
Hi. Am I unmuted again?
You are unmuted. I was informed that you put your
Yeah, sorry about that. So we got to hear James twice, and James had no idea that he was echoing for a full 5 minutes.
Yeah, James doesn't even like to hear himself once, let alone twice.
No. Anyway, so apologies for that one, guys.
Yep. So Sylveon, we got all the way to the normal Sylveon.
Okay, so wait, where did we put Woobat and Swoobat are bad.
They're better.
Yes, they're technically better.
They are better because they are much better than their first iteration.
Espeon's and you put it in generally good. Am I reading that right?
Yes, because it's anti-meta.
Sure. I mean, I think it's a really good tech card in the Sylveon deck. But yeah,
to be fair, we replaced our tech card slot with generally good.
I know, but it's I I'm just saying it's really good in there specifically. And then the Sylveon is probably meta warping.
This one?
Yeah, it has a 60.6% win rate in its first round of play with Espeon as the card in there. Here, hold on, let me send you this image.
All right. See, I was gonna put it like maybe the top part of generally good. I didn't
Yeah,
think that this would be meta warping.
it is the best rated deck right now percentage wise.
Fair
It's
enough.
beating out Flareon EX and Turtonator, but that's because I think they're running Turtonator when they should be running Torkoal because it frees up more deck slots. But
Fair enough. Yeah,
yeah.
this
Okay,
is actually the fun fact. This is the deck that I was talking about building while you were away. This is the deck that I want to build. So nice to know that just like with Rampardos, I have a good read on the meta, just not why.
Just not why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so ideally, right? So you have all 5 of those evolutions. You have 4 copies of Eevee. Sylveon does bonus damage based on how many Pokemon on your bench are evolved. You evolve all of them. That's going to crack for 130. You can boost it up to 150 pretty easily with Eevee Bag plus Giovanni and other bunch of other stuff as well to get more damage out there. Sylveon EX is a draw engine for your stuff, and then Espeon comes in as the closer. So it's just very consistent. Again, stage 1 is consistent. Stage ones are consistent.
So okay, so considering that, I will, because I was gonna put it like right here, so we can put it in meta warping.
Yep, and then we'll put the other Sylveon in there too, because they work hand in glove with each other. The
They
Sylveon
do.
EX
They do.
is the draw engine, and then the Sylveon regular is the damage.
Exactly. Yep. I was actually just getting into that as you returned.
Yeah.
This is really strong. You're essentially running 4 copies of Professor's Research.
Yep.
Pretty much. Point.
Pretty much.
And it does the only thing holding this Sylveon EX back, which is totally understandable because, power budgets. With a strong ability like this, you can't have a very strong attack, so it only does 70 damage.
Right.
Which is fair.
So Mimikyu, by the way, is Mew EX at home.
Yes, that's accurate.
So I think
so it would work. It works with that. The only thing I think this has going for it, I hate the fact that it's a coin flip. Number 1.
Yep.
If this weren't a coin flip, I would actually like this card a lot more. It does have that trainer card that moves the damage counters off of Mimikyu on your opponent.
But it's got it. Unlike the other Mimikyu, it doesn't self damage, so you can't combo it really well with that, and its HP pool is way too low.
I mean, to be fair, this Mimikyu is built around what your opponent does, and this I will say this too, and this is one of the things that I don't like about Espeon, for example, is any card that relies on your opponent to do a certain. And we'll talk about this more when we get to Penny, by the way. Any card that requires your opponent to do a certain thing, as opposed, and not something that they're going to do naturally through the course of the game, but like, if you're running Mimikyu, you're betting that your opponent has an expense, like they're running Genetic Apex Charizard.
Right.
It's gonna take a long time to build up. It does a ton of damage, and you can just copy their attack for a cheaper cost, or Mewtwo EX or something like that. That's inherently inconsistent because you're not always going to be going up against your opponent. Okay, so what if you take this Mimikyu into a Sweets Relay against a Sweets Relay deck? Oh boy, you get to do 2. It's a more. You're actually paying more energy than your opponent is for a 50% chance to use the same attack, and you don't even benefit from it.
I think in the instances where what you're expecting your opponent to do is an extremely common action, such as looking at Sudowoodo from a couple sets ago, like where they're going to run Pokemon EX. Yes, most decks are. So like that's very consistent. That's fine. When it comes to this, where it's random, basically, and it's also a coin flip, no. When it comes to Espeon, because everyone's going to be loading up their guys with energy. You're going to get at least minimum 20 damage, and into many of the decks are going to get upwards of 100 damage for 1 energy.
Well, and that's one of the things I was talking about with Espeon specifically, because if it being an anti-meta card, if a lot of the cards in the meta, like, okay, what if you run into a Rampardos deck where everything in that deck only uses 1 energy or 2 at most, depending on the variant that you're running. Oh no, you're doing 40 damage to me or 20 damage to me, to my Rampardos. Anyway, 1 tap.
Right. No,
So
it's very fair.
it's really depend. That's why I call it an anti-meta card, because most of the time you're gonna get value out of it, but it's still but if the meta turns to 1 or 2 energy Pokemon as opposed to 4 energy Pokemon, it's gonna dramatically lose value.
Right. I think we can move on to all the fighting type Pokemon, which I would just say put
Yeah,
all of them in bad.
Mimikyu is bad. I'm just gonna throw that in there real
Uh,
quick.
I think all of the fighting type Pokemon are bad. I don't even really want to give any consideration. Yeah, I know there's other Mindfu and Mindchow, but they're still bad.
I would argue these two are worse because the other ones at least have the benefit of being that 60-20, whatever, 40 for 1 energy. Like I was talking about with Woobat and Swoobat, just kind of that generic. When you don't have any cards, that's what you run to open with. These guys are
right,
definitely worse because they require more energy commitment for
right.
its stage one, and the basic Pokemon has a 50% chance of doing nothing. So this is essentially a 60-20
Yeah, yeah.
if
So,
on
and
average.
then and then Barboach and Wishcast, too much energy for too little damage. The
I
soft
don't know.
damage to your
Okay,
bench is bad.
this I've seen this time and time again. I don't understand why outside of Lucario and Rampardos, DNA despises fighting type, but they're always like,
I don't know.
"All right, we're gonna make an okay damage attack for 1 billion energy, and then we're gonna put a downside on it. 4
Yeah,
energy to do 130 damage when Rampardos does it for 1, and you're gonna do 10 damage to each of your bench Pokemon.
yeah.
What do you have against fighting type? DNA is
I
a
don't
bunch of
know.
nerds.
And then also Carbink is just Mr. Mime, but now brown. So that's what it is. Mr. Mime from Genetic Apex and brown. So
Yep.
I don't see any point in this one. So I think we just
No,
scratch that.
it's just a stall card, but it costs
Yeah.
2 energy. Whereas there's I'm pretty sure there's electric types that do the
Yeah.
same thing, or anything with smokescreen from the fire
Right.
type. So yeah, okay, we're gonna go. I'm gonna go bad here. I'm gonna put Wish Cash in the fishbowl. Bad,
The fishbowl.
bad, bad.
I like how the fishbowl kind of makes sense because there's two fish and then a cat for whatever reason. So
that's
like
that's how it's developing.
that's really how it's going. The cat got into the fishbowl.
It did,
Jaxie, no.
and it's an electric cat.
Yeah. Which is even
Speaking of
better.
cats, Umbreon.
Umbreon, I think, is really good. I think this is a card that is going to go in the Giratina Darkrai deck. I think it's I would probably put it in has potential.
Yeah,
It's entirely a meta call,
well, and
but
that's
because big
exactly
basics
right.
are such a big thing that I feel like this. Well, actually, it's not a. I think it has potential still. It probably won't go in the now that I think about it more the Darkrai Giratina deck. Probably won't go in there, but I think it definitely has potential.
I kind of want to put it in niche because
Okay,
it doesn't have the
sure.
same potential power output that Espeon
Yeah.
does, but it's still an anti-meta card because against, not that you ever attack with Jotagun, but like you think that Giratina Darkrai deck, it's all basics. Or if you're running
Yeah.
the Buzzwole deck and you're fighting or you're playing against
That's another good point. The Buzzwole deck is all basics as well.
Yeah.
But this thing, the problem with the Buzzwole deck is you could sell a Steela in and out.
Yes. Yes.
So it kind of removes that. But I think you're right. I think it is niche. So Sableye is bad. 70-30, not a good break point. Purloin is not fully evolved, and I don't particularly care about its attack. And Laypard is, I believe, bad as well. We have had.
Yeah, I mean it's just
Well, let's say Purloin is better because we have a Purloin that's just the standard 60-20 breakdown, and then Lipard is 90-40.
yeah.
It's functionally the same.
I like the fact that Purloin is essentially a one
Uh,
target Guzma.
Yeah, Guzma. Well, Guzma, it targets everything.
That's why I said a one target Guzma.
Discard all Pokemon tools from your
Opponent's
active
Pokemon.
Pokemon. Oh, active Pokemon. Never mind that. I thought it was all of them.
Nope.
Fair enough then.
If it was all of them, I think it'd be really good.
Yes, very much so.
Like if you don't have Guzma, it does take Dark type, but okay. Anyway,
Right.
Mawile.
Mawile, I think this one we already have had one before.
Yes.
I think both of them are terrible. I think this one is also bad.
Yeah, two energy for 30 damage and a coin flip on Paralyze is terrible.
Yeah, it's not good. So I think bad. is pretty fair. So we can move on to Togi Demaru. So what are your thoughts on this one, James?
All right, their opponent's next turn is Pokemon attack, deal 30 damage to the attacking Pokemon. Um, I think it would have been a lot better 4 or 5 sets ago. I mean,
Yep.
it's just a stall card, and the worst thing about it is that it takes 2 energy. If you knocked this down to 10 damage and took off one of the energy costs, or even maybe even 0, I don't know, but definitely 10, you could then throw a Rocky Helmet on it, and you're doing 50 damage every time your opponent attacks you. Even though you don't have a huge health pool, I think that would still be a very good stall card.
I don't know if I would say it's a very good stall card because I think we're beyond that, but it would be better.
Well, that's well,
It
that's
would
not the
be
point.
better than it is right now.
It would be a very good stall card, but we are past the point for the most part where stall is required because everything has so much freaking ramp, and this entire set, as you point out, is built around speed and is being faster and more consistent than like a stage 2, for example,
Right.
or any of the big basic EXs.
Right. I just think overall this is it's not good.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I have a habit of I see a card with potential. I'm like, okay, this is how we can make the card good. But yes,
Right.
evaluating the card as it is now is bad. I think if it were the way that I had designed it in my head, maybe it'd be niche as a stall card as opposed if you didn't have Drotagon.
Yeah, and I think by the way, Meltan and Melmetal, I think both of those are pretty bad as well. I think
Yeah.
the old Meltan and old Melmetal are better.
Metal.
Shut up. So we can get to the main event. We can get to Dratini, Dragonair, Dragonite. All of these are better. All of these are goated. Dragonite is amazing. Oh my gosh.
Okay, you're
they
gonna
cooked
have
with
to
this card.
explain this to me because
Oh, okay.
this to me screams bad.
Okay, so Dratini and Dragonair are both better.
Yeah,
Just straight
well,
up.
yes.
Just straight up better. Straight up better. So Dragonite. So Giga Impact. First of all, 180 cracks everything. No weakness. Very hard to counter this card. Outside of just outright out muscling it. Okay. Don't worry about the effect because it doesn't freaking matter. Because you do 180, you play leaf, you retreat him out, and you put a fossil in the active slot. And then you discard the fossil, bring him back out, and crack again for 180.
I always forget that in Pokemon unless it's a supported card, it's a soft once per turn. There's always ways to make the card forget.
It's
and I
literally crazy.
I also forgot that Manaphy doesn't require the Pokemon that you add it to, the water energy you add it to.
Also correct.
Although you do have to run water energy to use Manaphy's ability attack.
Decks that I've been seeing that are running Dragonite are running something like Oricorio Pom Pom in the main slot. So then that basically just sits there and either soaks damage or blanks everything while you ramp this guy up, and it works because you run electric type and whatever. So you got something like that in the main slot that you can flush in and out. Or I've been seeing even Snorlax EX, which we'll talk about in a little bit, with what's it called? The Illima. So it takes damage, which we'll talk about more when we get to Snorlax, why that one particularly. But it takes damage, and then once you're ready for Dragonite EX, you can bring this guy in, and then you have your fossils. So like there's a couple different strategies that you can run with this, but basically all it comes down to you have something out there that sits there and doesn't die, is almost impossible to kill, very consistent to do that. Bring this guy in, and then you just hammer until you win, and it's pretty good. Pretty good. I don't think it's meta yet. I think it's really hard to make dragon types meta, but I definitely think it's generally good, and I think that people are going to explore this card a lot. Dragonite's a fan favorite.
That's just the thing. I mean, the fact that you have to run 2 different types of energy to make it work is always going to hurt consistency. And while there are ways around the drawback on its attack, you're not always going to be able to pull that off. And fortunately, it's tanky enough that it can probably take 1 or 2 hits because it's going to kill whatever your opponent has set up, like pretty much guaranteed, unless they're running Venusaur EX.
Yeah.
But all things it's got going for it, but it's still a stage 2. So there's a lot of things that are hurting the consistency of this card that you have to make up for. I think that I'd be willing to call it generally good, but
I think it's
definitely
generally
not
good.
meta
No, it's
defining.
I wouldn't put it in meta yet, but I think that it's generally good, and I think that it has opportunity to really move up into that slot. Depending on once it gets broken. I mean, once this card gets broken, it's going to be insane. Just hitting for 180 and then hitting for 180 again, that's 360 over 2 turns. That's insane.
If they ever introduce Switch to this game,
Right. Once they introduce Switch, I think it's over. If they ever introduce a way to get to pick an energy type to put on your Pokemon, it's over for dragon types. Okay, so we can move on to Drampa, which is bad. The
but
other
he's so
Drampa is
cute.
arguably better.
Look at him.
Yeah, but he sucks. 70 damage with a chance to paralyze for 2 energy.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
That being said, it is at least colorless, so
Yeah,
he's got that going for him.
which you know why Drampa is colorless, right?
No, I do not.
It's normal type.
I did not know that. So why'd they make him a dragon type?
Because he's normal dragon.
Oh, gotcha. That's boring.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's neat. All right, so Eevee is better. I think we can move on to the main event.
I was gonna say this Eevee is way better than the continuous steps Eevee.
Yeah, I think it's better.
I mean,
consistency
between this Eevee, between Sylveon EX, with I mean, the Eevee deck is essentially just draw or search your entire deck by turn 6.
Again, consistency. Stage 1s. What am I telling you guys?
All right, Eevee EX.
We have 3 Mawile cards. They are all bad. Yes, they are all bad. Thank you. I'm sorry, I missed that earlier.
Mawile.
Yeah, I like Mawile as a card. And Twinkle Muncher, once we wrap this up, we'll join for some ARM or something. Okay, so Eevee EX, I really don't know if we even have to talk about this card. I think we could just put it in meta warping.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that it allows you to run 4 copies of Eevee makes every deck that we've talked about so far work.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to Snorlax. So the combo with Snorlax is you have Lunala EX and you have Giratina on your bench. This guy's sitting out there. His ability heals him for 20 every turn you attach leftovers. Now he's healing for 30 every single turn. You really need maybe a Comfey, and he's healing for, I think, 40 at that point. Let me check that real quick. How much does Comfey heal you for?
I think it's 10 to everything, isn't it?
I think it is 10 for everything, which means that he's healing for 40 damage every single turn passively. You attach any of the million healings. Yeah, Comfey, any Pokemon that has Psychic Energy. Oh, recovers from special conditions. Never mind, that doesn't even heal you. I'm thinking of a different card. So he doesn't go to sleep. Okay, you put Comfey on there. His flop down punch doesn't put him to sleep. First of all, that's how that's supposed to work. But yeah, so you have Giratina EX, you have Lunala. You put energies on Giratina EX and you ramp up Giratina EX. Lunala moves all of those onto your active slot, which is Snorlax EX. Snorlax EX has been healing base for 30 every single turn. You have potions, you have Giant's Cape, you have Pokemon Center Lady constantly healing this guy, keeping him alive, keeping him healthy. Comfey protects him from any special conditions. He just constantly is smashing you in the face for 130 with no drawbacks. And you get that ramped up in 2 turns. Mm-hmm. He's insanely strong. Meanwhile, once he's ramped up, you can just keep putting energies on Giratina EX. Why not? If he brings in Giratina EX, you just donk him for 130 anyway. This deck is very strong.
This is exactly... I was not thinking about how to ramp him with Giratina and Lunala, but I was thinking about the fact that, I mean, you can get around the fact that he's asleep, and once you get him ramped, I was just trying to figure out, okay, how do you get him ramped in the first place? That's a great... I didn't even think about that combo.
Yeah, so that is the combo. That is the combo, baby. And Jody, I'm telling you, you're wrong. This card's good.
I pulled this out of my first pack in this set.
There you go.
I'm 100% running this deck. Who told you it was bad?
One of the most popular YouTubers in the space that's like really good at the game. You're wrong. I'm telling you. I don't know what I'm talking about, but you're wrong.
So good.
I think generally good. Yeah, I don't think it's broken yet, but I think it's very close to being broken.
Okay.
And then the rest of these
counterpoint. That exact deck that you just described will single-handedly bring Umbreon into the meta.
True.
Because then it
I
just shuts
think
down the entire deck.
every other colorless card is bad,
Yeah.
pretty
Okay, so we got
much.
Apom. Flip 2 coins. Does 20 damage for each heads. That's not terrible on a
But
basic
it's not
Pokemon.
good. It's not good.
No,
And
it's
then
not good.
Ambipom 50 allows you to search a Pokemon tool, but there's not really any deck that wants to run 4 copies of Apom and Ambipom. So
Well,
why?
also, again, it's a random Pokemon tool, so unless
Yeah,
you are specifically looking for like that
exactly.
one leftovers or poison barb or
Exactly.
whatever,
You don't really want that. Chatot, 10 damage to confuse, which isn't a guaranteed damage. Not very good. Audino is do the wave. We're way past, knockoff Pikachu EX at home here.
mm-hmm.
Mincino and
We have
Cincino are just
Espeon now for
standard.
that.
Exactly. Mincino and Cincino,
That's your
they're just
standard.
so standard. They don't matter.
Yeah.
Swovet is not on curve, and then Greedent is entirely dependent upon the Pokemon tool, so you can see it comboing at the Ambipom, but do you really want to invest 3 energies into Greedent?
It's a much
No.
worse version of Skarmory from a few
Yeah.
sets back.
So I just say put all the rest of the colorless into bad. They're not very
I
good.
have no issues with that.
And then let's talk about Eevee bag leftovers, How and Penny, and we're done.
And we got to pick out our favorite full
That's
art,
right.
though.
That's right.
Man, that bad category though.
It's pretty big, but
It is, but the meta warping category is also bigger than I think.
well,
Most of our other ones.
it's always going to be big because they have to fill it with pack art or pack filler. You know what I
well,
mean?
yeah. All right,
Okay, so Eevee bag meta
goated.
warping. This
Yep.
is so good. It's literally Giovanni and a potion at the same time. It's ridiculously strong.
Not just a potion. It heals all of them.
Oh, does it? Oh my god! From each of them that evolves from Eevee. Okay, I didn't even read that. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, you basically, you think about some things because I mean, I guess bench sniping isn't super in the meta right now, but like we were talking about Alolan Ninetales earlier. This just completely blanks all the damage to your bench Pokemon, which also removes the ability to use Cyrus. Or Decidueye EX's like my personal favorite. Decidueye EX's attack to nuke the bench. So
I think this goes into meta warping. Yep. I think it works with every Eevee deck. You want this in every Eevee deck. It's so good.
Yep.
You can stack them too. You can stack them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's crazy. And then leftovers as well as I would put that. I would put leftovers in generally good because it entirely depends on whether or not you want to run Giant's Cape or this, depending on the standard HP pool of the Pokemon.
I would almost always prefer higher max HP simply because. Mm-hmm. So this is good against chip damage, which there isn't as much of in the game anymore. It's a whole lot of just one-tapping your opponent's Pokemon. So if you can put on Leaf Cape or Giant's Cape and get your Pokemon out of that, right? That 150 threshold that you bump it up to 170 or you've got
also another thing though that I will say is like using the Snorlax EX as an example. If your guy's going to survive more than 2 attacks, you want leftovers.
Agreed.
Right, and that's what I mean. Is if he's not going to survive more than 2 attacks, you want to put Giant's Cape or whatever on him. If he is, you want to put leftovers because you're going to get more value out of it.
Yeah, so I'd put it niche. I would put this as niche.
I think it's higher than niche. I think it definitely has potential. I would like to run that in the Snorlax deck specifically.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, the synergy there is obvious.
Yeah,
and I mean, maybe even with, for example, you could put it on Dragonite EX as well. So it's got a huge HP pool, and I mean, you could put this on a lot of things, but you really, again, you have to cost benefit analysis. So I would put it in niche simply because it's
fine.
The definition of a niche card. It's going to go in there in very specific decks, but it's not run in every deck.
That's fine. How is meta defining, by the way? That's literally putting Incineroar EX back on the map. It's insane. It also benefits Primarina, which is also already in meta defining, I think. Or meta warping. It also makes Decadui better. Like, it's just a better card. 30 plus damage is crazy to already good Pokemon. It's like Blaine if Blaine was for good Pokemon. So, like, yeah, no, this is definitely a good card.
Agreed.
This is so random. It's so randomly strong, and for whatever reason put into the set. Like, why didn't they put it in in like Celestial Guardians? But whatever.
Penny.
So I'll take it. Penny is niche, I think
Mm,
at best. It's
at
literally a meta
best.
call. It's literally a meta call. If the meta is running very few supporters and just like the professor's researches and like damage supporters, then yeah, sure, you want to run this because it gives you an extra copy of those. But if you're facing like a Sylvally deck, it's useless.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because the Sylvally deck is running like Gladion and crap, and it's
So
like, is that going to
the
help you?
the way
No.
I want to look at this is, so use the effect of that card as the effect of this card. Which have you played this card yet? Maybe I might be wrong with how I'm reading this, but it's not optional. It's not like, oh, it picks it. Do you want to activate it? So what
No,
if
it's mandatory. It's mandatory. So if it's a Sabrina and you didn't want a Sabrina, you're screwed.
my point exactly? Or what if
Yeah.
you've got one Pokemon, you finally search the Pokemon you want, you activate Penny, and you get Pokemon Communications. Now you got to shuffle it back into your deck.
Pokemon Communications is
Or
a
you're right. That's
item card. Item card.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
But it's a similar concept in this,
Yeah.
so far as it's like, why would I play this to try to Sabrina out your starter Pokemon when I wanted to KO your starter Pokemon? You know, or your active Pokemon is what I mean.
I mean, I would honestly just rather run the supporter that I want to run in the first place.
Right. Well, but that's why I say like it's entirely meta dependent, because if everyone's only running 2 copies of Professor's Research and you draw Penny, that's your third copy of Professor's Research. Now you can go ahead and Professor Research again. It's entirely dependent upon the meta. If everyone's running 8 supporter cards and they're random, like there's a Sabrina, a Cyrus, Professor's Research, Giovanni, Leaf, like, yeah, you have no idea what you're going to get. You can't plan for it. So it's not that good. So I think it's entirely niche. I think it's the definition of niche.
Yeah, I can get on
it's
board
not
with
it's
that.
not looker bad. It's not looker bad, but it's I don't think it's not how good, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I will say too, if it, instead of shuffling it back into their deck, it discarded it, this would might actually be pretty good. Yeah. Because then you get the benefit and your opponent doesn't.
Right.
But again, back in my train of, okay, how can we make the card better? Okay, so real quick, this is our, before we get into the full arts, this is our final scoring. Anything that you want to change at this point?
I don't think so. I think that it's pretty good. I think we're on the right track here.
Yeah, I agree.
I have no problems with that. Let's talk about arts. What's our favorite arts?
Well, so this is.
I know you're gonna want to say Umbreon. I
really do want to say Umbreon because I love Umbreon so much, and this is actually a really, really cool card.
I also like the fact that they added enough slots for full arts to do all the evolutions. I think that's really cool that they did that.
Yes.
But yeah, no, Umbreon is definitely really cool. I think that's fine to say that as your favorite. I think that's very fair.
I haven't gone all the way. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna go with Umbreon because all of these are cool. Like this is a really cool Sylveon EX. I like the Dragonite EX and this Eevee EX.
What about the Flareon EX? That one's pretty cool.
Flareon EX. This is like Dragon Ball Flareon. Dude's going toe to toe with Kakarot.
Yep.
But yeah, I just can't get past Umbreon.
So, no, you can lock in Umbreon. I think I'll go with Dragonite. I really like that art design. I think that's super cool.
This one?
Or yes, not the full art. Okay. The rainbow rare. Come on. I'm not Michael. I don't think full arts are better than rainbow rares for whatever freaking reason.
Sometimes they are.
So very rarely. But no, I just like the
EX shiny.
Okay, yeah, now you're making it shiny out of nowhere. So yeah, of course. But I think that the whimsical nature of Dragonite is so well supported by the way that this card is drawn. I really like that.
Agreed. So, Pokemon forgot that Dragonite's actually like 40 stories tall.
What's your favorite shiny in the set?
That's easy. That's Arbok.
I was gonna say Arbok too. I think Arbok's my favorite. The fact that it's a golden snake is so cool.
And plus I love Arbok. I really do like the blue Gardevoir too.
I also really like the blue Voltorb and Electrode, personally. Yes. I think those are really cool.
But shinies. I was also gonna say the pink Moltres. I don't like Zapdos and Articuno. They're not different enough.
I have the pink Moltres. I actually pulled that.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. In
Oh,
addition,
uh-oh.
everyone else is getting
Trying to pick up
great
Reggie. I
pulls.
unplugged my headset. Give me a second. He's so fat.
Fat cat's getting in the way.
Okay, he's hanging out with us today.
Good, good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I gotta plug back in.
But yeah, so no, I saw you and everybody else in the chat getting fantastic polls, and there's me like, I got Snorlax EX, guys, and that's about it. I have two Sylveon EXs, but they're from Wonder Picks. They're not from pack opens, so.
Hey, but now you know that it's actually pretty good. So.
Well, I already knew that it was good.
Yeah.
Again, my meta read is typically correct more than half the time. Just my reasoning behind it isn't always sound.
Right. You're pretty good at identifying cards. You're just not always good at putting it necessarily fully together. So.
Yeah. Well, playing Yu-Gi-Oh for 20 years will do that to you.
Yeah. So.
All right.
All right. I think that we've identified all the cards in this set. I really do like this set. I think that it's going about power creep, if you will, in a really nice way. It's not necessarily making other stuff obsolete. It's just giving us new tools and new toys to play with. So,
and a lot of times, even the stuff that it is making obsolete, that stuff was already obsolete. Now it's building on that concept, like Leafeon with the old Celebi EX gimmick.
Yep. 100% agree. And I'm really excited to play with the Dragonite EX. I think that's gonna be super fun.
I'm excited to play with Snorlax.
If it, I love fossil techs. I love the fact that people play fossils not to ever evolve them, but to just discard them.
Right. Out of all the decks, like I'm definitely gonna be playing the Sylveon Espeon deck. I'll definitely build the Sweets Relay deck. I don't know if I'll play it, but the Snorlax EX deck is the one that I'm looking the most forward to playing.
Sure. Which I think is right. I think, and that's the way you want to go about this set. Is it's just like what there's so many things I could be playing right now. Like all of the X's have some kind of use case. So I think that'll be pretty good. So,
for sure.
All right. Well, let's get signed out here, James.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Screenshot this and hold us to it in 2-3 weeks once we are proven either very right or very wrong. In the meantime, Patrick did mention a few more videos coming out. So be on the lookout for those, and make sure to like, subscribe over on YouTube, follow on Twitch, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good weekend.